Joining me now with more on how the pandemic is affecting student athletes is Lisa Miller. She's an expert on consumer psychology. Lisa, it's great to have you with us this afternoon. We have seen how COVID-19 has impacted schools and learning in the classroom. How do you see this impacting student athletes on the court or the field?
Oh, it's been a big transition for student athletes. If you can think about it, 2 years ago when the pandemic started, all at once, athletes were benched across the board. And the immediate implication is really obvious, which is less activity, more screen time, and those in and of themselves can actually be detrimental. But what a lot of people don't understand is these student athletes, their lives revolve around it, and with that lack of structure, it can actually really begin to impact their mental health, their ability to concentrate and do things in school. And so there's just this kind of double negative going on with the pandemic for these athletes, and it's really hard for them. And you saw that in that clip that you just played.
Absolutely. It's affecting their physical and mental health, and also their planning for the future. I know some athletes are thinking about the next level, how they can get in front of like college recruiters. What's your advice for student athletes and parents who need to pivot during this pandemic?
Well, the benefit is they've had 2 years of the student athletes ahead of them, but the organizations have changed. And so in the past, they used to have what's called highlight reels. And the highlight reels were, on the field, your highlights of the game and such. But that's pivoted to skills videos. And so those are things you can do in your backyard, you can do it at school, and it's all about the skills. But the other thing that hasn't changed, these coaches, they want to get to know the athletes because they're part of a team. So make sure to take initiative and find ways to connect with them and to really stand out in and above just the skills as well.
And we touched on it, the psychology of it all. How can our student athletes stay resilient and driven during this time?
Well, the first thing relative to sports is find your personal motivation and about what is the why, because there's obviously these dreams, but you feel better when you're active. You might do your schoolwork better. So find your whys in the short term, but then make sure to anticipate setbacks. And if you're a parent, make sure that, games are going to be canceled, on a dime things change. So being able to cope mentally with those things is going to be important. And then just keep up with those new experiences, new ways to train. And those are all the types of things that, not only parents and all of us, but student athletes in particular need to do those things.
All right, Lisa Miller, consumer psychologist, thank you so much for your time and your expertise. Those tips were helpful, definitely.
Thank you. Have a good one.
You as well.